Yo, what's going on, world? Another drive heading off to the 9 to 5, doing what I gotta do, making the daily bread, just like everybody else here. So hopefully y'all doing good. Pardon the vibrations or whatever, you know how it is when you're driving. But today I was planning to do a lot more of these talks in the car after the gym at like nighttime and stuff, but the way life was going, I just ended up not doing it for whatever reason. And sometimes I had wifey with me and I was like not trying to keep her in the car recording, but hey, whatever. So I was just like, let me get back to it. There's no reason to just not do them on the drive in the way to the car. Like, it is what it is. I just gotta get get my thoughts out type of thing. But anyway, kind of what I wanted to talk about today is just realizing like the big victories happen in the small wins. The big victories happen in the small wins. A lot of times we got big goals, we got big goals, big dreams, big visions, big ambitions, a lot of things that we want to do, a lot of things we want to get done, but we look so far off into the future, we don't realize that it requires us to take action today. We don't think it's actually possible to get it done, because when we see how big the goal is, we're like, oh no, this is kind of unrealistic. But in reality, it's all possible if you decide to take some sort of step forward today. As that famous Chinese saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And as cliche as it sounds, it's honestly true. If you have a big goal, you're not going to get it in one day, but you have to start somewhere. If you don't start somewhere, it'll never happen. So for me, it's like my goal is to, I'm on the road to 185, as I say. Like, I'm grinding my way down to get to about 180, 190, somewhere around 12 to 15% body fat. So that'll probably put me about around, 180, 185, give or take, when this is all said and done. So, but locking in for that long based on where I'm starting, which is around like 25%, that's essentially a 6-month grind. And it's easy to say, yeah, I'm gonna lose the weight, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then you start looking and you're like, bro, 6 months is really not a long time. But when you're in the thick of it and you go to a party and there's all this junk food and you're tempted to splurge, it's almost like, man, 6 months, bro, all right, bro, one day out of 6 months is not a big deal. So then we justify falling off that one day, and then we start making that justification for everything else. Oh, it's the weekend. Oh, it's my friend's birthday. Oh, it's a holiday. I was stressed out today. Then we start essentially realizing like it's not just one day out of 6 months. Now we're basically taking one day a week off, a whole day, not even a meal. We're having like cheat days, not even cheat meals. And then you start realizing like, man, I'm never gonna get where I want to be because I just keep throwing it off. And when you really break it down, it's just because in those little moments you're losing in those moments, and if you really want that big victory of losing 50 pounds in 6 months, like me, the goal I'm on, 45 pounds in 6 months, you have to be willing to get those small victories every day. That's how it adds up. It's not like you just wake up one day in 6 months and you're down 45 pounds. No, it happens day by day. You might lose 10 pounds in a month, but the 10 pounds in a month is determined on what you do each week. And how each week goes is determined on what you do each day. So in reality, it's like, if you want the big victory, you have to be dialed in on what you're doing today. How are you winning the day? Literally, people say win the day, and again, it's always so cliche until you really, really think about it. It's like, yeah, if you're gonna lose all that weight, you have to win today. It can take 6 months. Like, it doesn't have to take more than 6 months, which in the grand scheme of things is not a long time, because in a year, if you take 6 months to completely transform yourself, everything turns around in 6 months. Like, people look at you different, your life is different, your health is different, doors open up, and it's a whole other side when you actually reach that side of just having good health. But at the same time, you just got to realize, like, you're not going to just wake up 6 months from now and then be where you want to be. It's dependent on what are you doing right now. So if you need to win the day, what are your non-negotiables to winning the day? Are you committed to hitting your protein goal today? Are you committed to staying in your calorie window today? Are you committed to drinking your gallon of water today? Are you committed to getting in your cardio today, or your lifting it today with cardio? If you're not committed to getting those wins, nothing else matters. You can just throw the whole day away because you're not going to win. You're not going to win the day. Oh yeah, and then, you know, make sure you get some sleep too. But yeah, if you're dedicated to sleeping, getting your sleep in, getting your water intake, hitting your protein target, and getting your calories for the day, and your lift in, you knock out those 5 things every day, you automatically took the win for the day, at least in your health. There might be other non-negotiables in other areas of your life, which I understand. You know, you might have professional goals you need to hit, spiritual goals. You know, if you're a religious person, you know, you might have some family goals, love goals, you know, to make sure, you know, things are connected between you and your partner, you and your family. We all have daily non-negotiables we have to, you know, stick to. If we don't stick to them, things kind of fall down. You know, they're like the domino that knocks down all the other dominoes. But yeah, in terms of health, I feel like those are, personally, when it comes to my health, those are my 5 non-negotiables to win. If I hit all those in a day, then I know, like, okay, I had a solid day, I'm moving forward. Drinking a gallon of water, getting at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Obviously 7 plus is better, but I'm kind of in a zone where 6 is kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm just, yeah, I'm in a whole different world, and eventually I'll sleep more, but right now is not that time. So, you know, drink a gallon of water, sleep 6 hours at least minimum, get my protein intake in, which is anywhere from 150 to 200, ideally 180 and up. You know, stay in my caloric deficit, which is no more than like 2,300 a day. So basically anywhere from like 2,000 to 2,300 is my caloric zone, and get my cardio in or get my lift in, which is a non-negotiable. I gotta get those in. So if I get those in, then I know, okay, I'm moving the ball forward. Biggest two is caloric deficit and working out. You know, I can hit my protein, I can drink my water, and I can sleep, but if I don't work out and I don't stay in a caloric deficit, then the day is essentially already lost. It doesn't matter what I did, you know. So that's the other thing about non-negotiables I'm realizing too. It's almost like what they say, like the 80-20 principle. Like 20% of the causes or something like that, 20% of the inputs affect 80% of the output. That's essentially kind of like the Pareto principle. But yeah, 20% of the input affects 80% of the output. It's like, yes, I could drink water and be religious about drinking water, and yeah, it keeps me full, keeps me satiated, it helps keep my skin clear, all type of stuff. But if I'm in a caloric surplus every day, that's not helping me lose weight. Like, no matter how much water I drink, if I'm in a caloric surplus, it doesn't matter. I could be getting the best sleep in the world. Like, I could be waking up fully rested, fully satisfied. You know, I'm burning a lot of fat in my sleep. You know, my hormones are regulated, well regulated, because I'm getting good, healthy sleep. But again, if I'm in a caloric deficit, it doesn't matter. You know? So it's just like, the main driver is the caloric deficit. Like, if I'm in a caloric deficit, even if I'm not getting a high amount of water, I'm still going to be losing weight. You know, the lack of water is going to affect other areas, but if your main driver is weight loss, fat loss, then yes, you have to focus on the deficit, and then protein intake, and just making sure you're working out to widen the deficit a little bit. So yeah, those are my 2 main drivers: caloric deficit, working out. And then third, really should be tied for second, is protein intake, because protein is going to affect your body composition. So yes, if you're in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight, but if it's off of a very, very low amount of protein, you're more likely to increase your muscle loss. So then, yeah, you, instead of being leaned out, you're just going to look like a skinny, fat version of yourself. So, you know, something to consider. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I really had to say today. You know, just getting my thoughts off, just kind of chopping it up with the world. But, you know, that's really what it comes down to. Your big victories are really determined by the small wins you take. So what are your non-negotiables for you to have a win today? Are you committed to getting those wins? And how long are you doing it until you get your big victory, you know? So everybody, y'all have a great day. You know, get your wins, get your dubs, so you can have that victory that you want 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now. All right, y'all take care and peace.